Welcome back. Neogen Chemicals is the management on our radar right now. The three talking points that we'll be discussing with them is the outlook for their battery chemicals business, the supply chain issues, is there an impact on prices, and companies' capital expansion plans as well. Harin Kanani, the MD, Neogen Chemicals, is joining us now to discuss that and a lot more. Mr. Kanani, good morning. Thank you so much for joining in. You are aware of a recent report that had come by and they had spoken about how there could be some impact or because of oversupply that's happening in the industry on battery chemicals. First up, your thoughts on that, and what's the contribution coming in for you from the battery business currently? How will it scale in the next 2 to 3 years?
Hi. Battery business is basically driven by two major end users. One is the EVs, the two-wheelers, the three-wheelers, four-wheelers, and we recently announced, we also saw buses being a policy, and now Ashok Leyland also announcing like they want to make even commercial vehicles using batteries, right? Electrical in a major foray into that. So this is one segment. And the second is the energy storage application, which is linked to the solar, and even discussions that even coal power plants also having some storage capacity. So when we have renewable energy, we can balance the supply significantly. I think both these are very critical, important demands, and we are seeing both of these growing continuously in India as well as worldwide. So if you look even at India, the demand constantly keeps increasing, and because of that, there's a good demand for batteries. The only challenge has been that while the demand for the batteries is increasing, the consumption of batteries is increasing, the production of the cells, the which is required for these batteries, is just starting. So it was expected to start by end of 2024, which was the PLI requirement. And like giving credit to some companies like Ola who started the first gigafactory around that time, it is now stabilizing. So if we look, there are two gigafactories which are coming online in 2024-25, and there are four gigafactories which are expected to come online in 2026. So if you look at 2027, you will have six gigafactories which will be running, stabilizing, ramping up. And the demand is already there. So it's just a question of getting the technology right, either with their own technology investment or partners. Once that is done by 2027-28, we are going to see a huge increase in the demand of the battery chemicals in India.
So, Mr.
Sorry, yeah.
Yes, so that is what you are seeing, a huge demand. You are talking about constraints on production. But for Neogen itself, you have also invested a lot in this particular business. Can you give us a sense of how much has it contributed in FY25 or FY26 so far? How do you think this will scale over years? And in terms of capex as well, 1,500 crores is what you announced, only 500 crores is done so far. How will that scale up?
So if we look at, the revenues that we generated from batteries, so Neogen had the luxury that we've been working with lithium chemistry for last 40 years. And we started working on the battery chemicals also 6 or 7 years ago. So if you look 2 years ago, we were into like single digit, contribution from battery. Last year, we just moved into double digit. And this year we are targeting like a 3 digit kind of a battery. And let's say, depending on how it shapes up, by next financial year or the year after, we would be into 4 digits. So it's just little bit of a change, but overall, we are growing. If you say, we are almost crossing order of magnitude jumps, because that's what happens when an industry goes from 0 to 100, right? So we are part of that journey. One another thing which, sometimes we miss out is, it's when you're thinking of battery chemicals, it's not just linked only to India. The world also wants an alternate to China, and the world also wants the supply chain as badly. So, today the production of batteries outside China, be it India, be it US, be it Europe, Japan, while there are hiccups, the production is increasing, and there are clearly regulatory stages where, there are some battery raw materials where there's like 90-95% dependency on China with overcapacity, which is slowly getting reduced, but there was an overcapacity in China. So there was a clear message that we need to have alternate sources, alternate geography as a geography de-risk. And India is the best bet outside China, which has the talent pool, which has the basic infra to handle the chemicals. So this is where we are going. As far as our capex is concerned, like we are on track to complete majority of the capex in the current year. Maybe a little bit will fall over, but the entire 1200 crores would be done in the current financial year, or maybe a little bit left over in the early half of next year. But overall, we are committed, and the capex is going the way we had more or less planned.
Mr. Kanani, if you can quantify the 3 digits, because 3 digits go from 100 to 999,
Yeah.
if you could share a number on that, that's part one. And
Yeah.
if there are any other geographies that you are targeting for this business, if you could tell us that. And then I'll ask you about your organic growth business. And since you mentioned lithium as well, very briefly, if you could touch upon the fact that whether prices have stabilized in the second quarter as well.
Yeah, so yes, it will be like I would say it will be not closer to 999. It will be like, more closer to hundreds, like closer to hundreds. But yeah, see, the point is, when you're starting from zero, right, it's still a significant jump. The only point I want to say was the demand is increasing, contribution is happening. In terms of the geographies question that you asked, yeah, so US is one where there are still restrictions, and even some of the battery materials was left out from the tariffs which were put on India, with the intention that they want to develop an alternate supply chain. And this is an area. So US remains one of the key areas, and the other area is Japan and Korea, where there is significant battery production happening. Technically, Europe also will have a demand, but there are already Chinese companies who have already set up plants in Europe, and there are very few policy measures to have incentive to have supply from a non-China or a geography diversification kind of a supply. So I think there we don't see very strong demand, but we see a lot of interest from Japan, Korea, as well as US markets, who basically want to have an alternate de-risking of geography.
All right, Mr. Kanani, we had a lot more questions, but there's so much happening with the tariff news and geopolitical update as well. So we'll keep that for some other time. Thank you so much for joining in and telling us your insights on the battery business overall for the company and the country as well. Time for a short break now. On the other side, we put spotlight on Salasar Techno Engineering in our segment Under the Lens.